Can you imagine trying to design a skyscraper with just a pencil and paper? It sounds crazy, right? Well, for decades, that's basically how we've been building some of our most critical industrial equipment. But that's all changing, and fast. So today, we're going to dive into how AI is taking over the real grunt work of engineering, turning weeks of complex calculations into elegant, optimized designs in a matter of minutes.
But look, to really get why this is such a huge deal, we've got to take a step back and understand the old way of doing things. For years and years, designing something like a shell and tube heat exchanger, which is a critical piece of equipment in countless industries, was, to put it mildly, an absolute engineering headache.
So, how did they do it? Well, just try to picture this. You're solving a massive 3D puzzle, but here's the catch. Every single piece you move changes all the other pieces around it. And your only tools? A pencil, a calculator, and a mountain of textbooks. Yeah, it was slow, it was tedious, and it took a ton of manual effort and just gut feeling from expert engineers.
And this really breaks down just how painful that process was. You're talking about endless trial and error. Weeks, not days, weeks of mind-numbing calculations. And of course, with every single tweak, you're introducing a huge risk of human error. Then, on top of all that, you had to constantly flip through these thick manuals from organizations like TIMA and ASME to make sure everything was up to code. It was just a perfect storm of inefficiency.
Okay, so there has to be a better way, right? Well, there is. And this is where the hero of our story comes in, the AI agent. The best way to think about it is like a super smart digital sidekick for engineers, designed specifically to tackle all this crazy complexity. So, what exactly is this AI agent? Let's be clear, this isn't just some glorified calculator. No way. It's a complete, intelligent workflow. It uses AI to automate and optimize the whole shebang, from a basic spreadsheet all the way to a polished, professional, ready-to-use blueprint. Okay, so the whole thing works in 6 main steps. First, it grabs the data. Then, it cleans it up and makes sure it's good to go. After that, it does the heavy lifting, the thermal and mechanical design. Then, and this is my favorite part, comes the AI optimization. That's where the magic really happens. And finally, it spits out the final result. Let's walk through. All right, let's start at square one. We're going to follow the whole journey, right? From a simple little file to a complete, ready-to-go engineering design. Now, you'd think something this powerful would need some super complicated input, right? But that's the beautiful part. It all starts with something every single engineer on the planet knows how to use, a plain old Excel spreadsheet. And inside that Excel file is where the engineer lays out the groundwork. You've got stuff like the properties of the fluids, flow rates and temperatures. Then you have the really important design limits, like how much pressure drop is allowed, plus things like fouling factors and even some hints on what materials to use. Okay, so before the AI even thinks about designing anything, it does something absolutely crucial. I love this analogy. It's like mise en place for an engineer. You know how a chef gets all their ingredients chopped and measured before they even turn on the stove? It's exactly like that. So for the AI, that means it's checking all the input data for mistakes, it's converting everything to standard units, so it's all apples to apples, and it's even figuring out some of the key properties it'll need later. Basically, it's making sure the whole foundation is rock solid before it builds the house. All right, with all the prep work done, it's time for the main event. The AI fires up its thermal and mechanical design engines and gets to work on the real heavy lifting. All those calculations that, remember, used to take an engineer weeks to do by hand. And this is where it gets really, really cool. Because the AI agent isn't just doing the math faster, it's a total game changer. It has this optimization superpower that lets it explore way more design options than a human engineer could ever dream of. Just look at the difference here. The old way, it was all about gut feeling and slow, painful changes. You'd eventually land on a design that was good enough. But the new way? It uses smart algorithms to sift through thousands of possibilities, hunting for the absolute best design for cost and efficiency. And this is key. It guarantees all the rules are followed. So how does it pull this off? Well, it's got a whole toolkit of some pretty advanced stuff. It uses things like heuristics. Think of those as smart engineering shortcuts to get started. It's got machine learning models that have learned from thousands of old designs. And it can even use something called genetic algorithms, which is wild. It basically evolves the best possible design, kind of like survival of the fittest. So, after all that incredible number crunching and optimizing, we get to the finish line, the final product,
The perfect blueprint, delivered right to the engineer's digital doorstep. Okay, so the AI did all the hard work. It took the data, it crunched the numbers, it found the best design. But what do you actually get at the end of all this?
What you get is this, a professional, industry-standard TEMA data sheet. And you can see here it's got everything. All the critical info an engineer would need is right there. Heat duty, pressures, the exact number of tubes, what kind of baffles to use, everything. All perfectly calculated and organized. And it's not just a pretty picture. It's delivered in formats you can actually use right away. You get an editable Excel file of that data sheet, a clean PDF report you can share, and the whole thing can be accessed through a simple website. It's all about making it easy and practical.
So when you boil it all down, this quote really nails it. The whole process takes simple, raw data and magically transforms it into a final, editable, and, most importantly, an optimized blueprint for a real piece of hardware. It really is a complete solution from start to finish.
Look, this whole revolution is kicking off with things like heat exchangers, but trust me, it's not going to stop there. The big question is, what's next? Are we talking about aerospace parts, the next generation of computer chips, maybe even the buildings we live and work in? The age of the AI design agent is just getting started, and honestly, it's going to change our world in ways we can't even fully predict yet. So I'll leave you with this. What do you think is next?